on the Texas A&M Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Alongside the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Mike Elko, we welcome you all to Rudy's. Thank you all for being here this evening, 504 Harvey Road, here in College Station, all along our network as well as we talk with Mike following the Aggies' 42-24 win over the UTSA Roadrunners on Saturday. Howdy, Coach. How are you?
Howdy. Good. I'm better today. We're always good to get number one under your belt.
Number one under your belt, and not easy, was it? Not easy at all. They're never easy.
Football is never easy. I think everybody always has this vision of what it's really going to be, but from a coach's perspective, it never really goes that way. And so, like always, some good, some bad, some things to work on, some things to improve. But we weren't 1-0 last year, and we are this year, and so we'll take it.
That's exactly right. We'll talk about that win over UTSA. We'll preview Utah State. That will be Saturday at 11:45 at Kyle Field. And I wanted to start with this. When you meet with the media on Monday, it is no mistake that you don't announce the offensive and defensive players of the week. You go scout team first. You do that on purpose, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think, part of the weekly preparation is what you get done in practice, and so much of what you get done in practice is what those kids on scout team do, and it's not a very high-profile job, but it's as important as anything we do. And we have scholarships over there. We have walk-ons over there. It's why the walk-ons are still so important, in my opinion, to what they bring and what they do. And, their ability to create the looks that we need is critical for our preparation and what we're trying to do to get ready for the game. And so, I think those kids who kind of fly under the radar, names that probably most fans haven't heard of or don't know of, it's good to give them some recognition for the job that they do.
They have to learn this A&M playbook, and then they have to learn UTSA and their Utah State this week, and then they're going to be Notre Dame, and then the bye week is probably a good week for them. But then they have to learn every opponent as well as A&M. They have to have it between the ears, don't they?
No, for sure. And we actually try to do it a little bit unique. We try to put it in our own terminology as much as we can. And so we'll look at Utah State's offense and who knows how they actually call their plays. But whatever there is carryover or crossover, we actually try to recreate the naming of it so that we have some freshman offensive linemen, right, who are going to be players for us at Texas A&M one day, and we tell them like, hey, this is a chance for you to go out and run the offense every day against one of the better defensive lines in the country, right? And so if you want to ultimately be on the big stage, this is a great. And so you try to do some different things to make it still feel like practice, because no kid wants to just look at a card. Like the days of just looking at a card, I think, are over for us anyway, because that's boring. If you're a kid, you don't feel part of it. But if somebody calls a play or something within your system and you're going out there and running it, I think it's a positive.
Offense was Eli Morcos. Defense was Lane Gerke. And special teams was Luke Braden. Yeah. They were the scout team guys.
Yeah, and like if you go back to last year, and I tell this story to the kids, like it was one of the weeks where Ashton Bethel-Roman was the scout team player of the week. And one of the weeks Miles O'Neill was the scout team player of the week. And those are just young kids in your program that are out there playing and getting better every week. And so, sometimes those names translate, right? Yeah. Ashton Bethel-Roman might have a chance to be a player of the week this year, right? And those things are all part of the development and growth within your program.
A couple of his teammates, a couple in that stable of wide receivers made your offensive player of the week is Mario Craver. Special teamer was Casey Concepcion. For their first game at Kyle Field, it was absolutely special, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see. And obviously, you have expectations and hopes of what it's going to look like. And we obviously felt like we had made some improvements in the wide receiver room from an explosive play ability standpoint. And but you never know. We talked about it last week. You just never know until it actually goes out there. And I think both those kids made some plays that were certainly translatable, right? Obviously we had a little bit of a talent advantage for sure, but when you look at the catch that Mario makes, that he picks up off the ground right before it hits, like that's a big time catch. The bubble screen when he hits the spin move, as soon as he gets the ball to get away from the unblocked player, the KC Concepcion catch and run. There just are some things that show up on that tape that we believe are translatable as we move forward, and so it was exciting to watch.
You talked about this, and if you go back and watch it, you will see that E.J. Smith, 22, makes 3 blocks during that 80-yard punt return. And as I'm watching the Pulse, which was on at 6:30 today, I'm watching on the one Craver touchdown, his first one.
It's
Ashton Bethel Roman's out in front, and Terry Bussey's in front of him. And that's that men of the 10 that you talk about.
Yeah, and it's such a big part of the hidden part of football, and I say this all the time, like everybody who watches football always just looks at the play. Well, if the play doesn't work, it was a bad play call. If the play works, it was a great play call. There's so many things that go into whether the play is actually successful or not, and a lot of those things are things like that. We throw a bubble screen and Ashton Bethel Roman misses a block, and we get tackled for -1, and every fan thinks we'd made a really bad play call. We throw the same play and Ashton Bethel Roman blocks his guy 2 yards deep in the end zone, and we're unbelievably creative with our play calling, right? That's the difference, and it is, but yeah, it was great to see. I thought we did that all night. I thought those kids played really, really hard on the perimeter. It was great to see them enjoying the success for each other. It was great for Ashton and Terry because there'll be times this year where they're the 2 lead dogs.
Right.
And they have the most catches, and they're the feature names in the press conference after the game, but that wasn't last game. And they still impacted the game in such a huge way and in such a huge level, and we're still so excited for the success we were having as an offense, and that was really cool to see.
And that's what you like when everybody walks off that field on offense or defense, and after a game, I contributed to this victory. That's a powerful feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's what ultimately is the culture you're looking for, right? And that's when you talk about what is culture and how does it impact things, and everybody says they have good culture, right? That's nobody's going to get up here and say, hey, our culture's really bad, but those are the things I think that show up that, in my opinion, point to where things are going, right? Because again, I always go back to this, and I reference this so much, but I think it's important for the people in here and our fans to hear, like, everybody wants this to be about money and selfishness, and everyone has to be for themselves, and nobody wants to be for the team anymore because that's what social media tells us this day and age has to be. But it's really not what you feel, and it's really not what you see when you put on the tape the other night. Right. You see a team playing together, no different than any team ever has. They're getting checks once a month, but they're still playing together the same way they always have, and I think that's really cool about what we have going on right now.
42-24, the win over UTSA last Saturday. Utah State comes up this Saturday, 11:45. At Kyle Field. Ags play the Texas Lottery today for your chance to win exciting prizes, and remember, luck happens to people like Heather. Keep a lookout for chances to win from the Texas Lottery. Heather won Texas A&M prizes, and you could too. Texas Lottery supports Texas education and veterans. Scratch 'em tickets and gig 'em. More of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We return to Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the Notre Dame game on September 13th. To register for the 12th Fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit here from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. When you play week 1, participation becomes important. You were able to get a good number of players in week 1, were you not?
Yeah, and I think that's intentional. I think, and we actually did it last year in week 1, even on a bigger stage. I think it's coming out of camp. First of all, the first night everyone's going to be a little bit more winded that you want them to be, the energy, the excitement, the nervousness, all of that combined together. And it's always good to just kind of get guys settled down and get them off the field a little bit. But you also have a lot of guys who have really been competing and earning opportunities, and you want to make sure that you reward those guys. And so, you rotate in 7, 8 offensive linemen, you rotate in 4 or 5 wide receivers, you're playing 3 tight ends, you play 4 running backs, 5 running backs, and when you do all of that, you're able to one, keep everyone engaged, 2, get a real feel for where everybody's really at, and I think you're preparing for what inevitably will be a really long season that you're going to need guys, and you don't know who and you don't know when, but you're going to need guys. And so getting those opportunities early in the year I think is critical, regardless of opponent, but certainly when the game plays out like it did, you got a real chance to get a lot of people in.
So the kickoff's at 6, so basically at 5:59 that's the best every player is going to feel for the rest of the season.
Yeah, actually I make a joke with them. We hit a point usually about it's usually about practice 7 or 8 in fall camp, and I always get up front of them and I tell them, listen, who's sore, raise your hand, and everybody raises their hand. I said, good. Well, you won't be sore again sometime around February, so just deal with it, because you're going to have this problem. You chose to play football. If you wanted to feel good, there's a lot of other things you should have chose to do with your body and with your life. So that's kind of how it goes.
Just as they're feeling good, Tommy Moffitt's bringing them back in.
Yeah, but no, it's a long, grueling season. The wear and tear on the body is challenging. It's why I always kind of chuckle at the injury. How did everyone come out of the game? They're hurting. Everyone's sore. Everyone's hurt. That's football. Most of them will be able to play. Some of them won't. Right. That's just how football goes. And it's a demanding physical sport. And so, the more you talk like that, the more you embrace that, I think the more you build the mindset and toughness that you want in your team.
You talked before you got in that with that return game, all 11, the 10 plus whoever is going to return. But Terry Bussey gave you good field position on the kick returns. Obviously, Concepcion breaks that. But that return game was very good on Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's really important. And I said this, it was. I felt like a prophet a little bit because I talked about it in the early press conference of the week. But punt return has taken such a larger emphasis. Punt has always been the number one unit on special teams. And I think for a long time it would have gone like punt, kickoff return, punt return. But with the way kickers are kicking nowadays and the amount of touchbacks that happen on kickoff and kickoff return, about 75% of those plays now are just kick the ball, touchback, put the ball in the 25. And so the other opportunity you really have on special teams to make plays is punt return. And so that over the last couple years has really shot up from an emphasis standpoint for us, and it was something we didn't feel like we were great at last year. We didn't think we did a great job blocking. We had Terry back there, and we didn't feel like we gave him enough room or enough space to really operate and showcase what he could do. And so we put a big emphasis in it this offseason and through spring ball and through fall camp. And obviously it's great to see it pay off in week 1 the way it did, and hopefully that gets contagious.
Was it intentional that you squibbed the 12th man kickoff so they could not call fair catch like last year?
So I will neither confirm nor deny that as a coaching staff, we enjoy giving the 12th man kickoff an opportunity to go make a play. And so as an attempt to maybe give them an opportunity to get down the field and make a play, it's always good to keep that kickoff in play. Yeah. And so, no, that's awesome. It hit me when we did it last year for the first time, just how cool of a moment that was. And so I think we were able to do it twice last year. It was great to get an opportunity to do it. It's something that we always kind of have ready to go whenever the opportunity presents itself. But it's just the kids' reaction, the sidelines reaction, the fans' reaction. It just means so much to so many people. It's really, really awesome when we get to do that, and it certainly would be a little bit of a letdown if it ended with just the kid catching the ball and taking a knee. So I think it's always good. It's always good to let them kids get down there and throw their bodies around. They've been kind of chomping at the bit to get the chance to do it, and so.
But that joy for one another on the sideline. I think the sideline was more excited than the 11. Yeah. On that kickoff team.
Yeah, and who says there isn't?
Can't fake it.
Who says there isn't a spirit of Aggie land when the guy who ultimately makes the tackle is jersey number 12, right?
And so,
yeah. Again, I've been here for 6 years now, and just the amount of coincidences that have happened with that jersey number is far too many for it to actually be a coincidence.
It's absolutely one of many highlights on Saturday. When we come back, we'll talk more about that win over UTSA on Saturday and look ahead to Utah State later on in this hour. That's when the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko continues. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Thanks to the generosity of 12th Man Foundation donors, Aggie student-athletes have the resources to succeed at Texas A&M and beyond. Start your tradition of support today at 12thmanfoundation.com. We continue. Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Tremaine Mondane is our producer in our Jeff City studios. Learfield, Kevin Menchow is our engineer. I get that at 8:22, so I don't forget when we're running out of time at the top of the hour.
Smart move.
You talk about this, and I saw this when you talk with the team in the locker room in the Pulse. There were a lot of things that you liked from Saturday, and you said there's a lot of things that we have to work on to go where we want to go. So what did you like? And I also want to know, where do you want this team to go?
Yeah, so it was really, and I said this in the press conference, and I've been thinking a lot about this, and it really is true. If you were to write down, coming off of last year, okay, what are 4 things you really, really want to see happen in the opener, right? One would be, I want to see Marcel take the next step and look like he's more comfortable throwing the football. Check. I want to be more explosive on offense on the perimeter. Check. I want to be much better with our pass coverage on defense and making sure we're on the same page communicating. Check. And I want to get more dynamic on special teams. Check. And so, like, if you were to say, what are the 4 priorities, I think we hit them. And that was exciting. Then there's some other things that popped up. You know, the run defense, a little bit of the inefficiency on offense, some of the penalties, right? Like, some of those things pop up, and then those are areas, obviously, that we have to go fix, clean up, and improve. And we certainly didn't not focus on those things. But from the things that you were most concerned with, I think we answered those questions really, really well. And we talk very, very plainly in our building about going to the SEC championship game, going to the college football player, competing to win a national championship. We have not backed away from that since the day I got hired. And, that's the vision. And so when we talk about, what our hopes are, what our expectations are, what we're trying to accomplish, like, that's what we're measuring against. Mm-hmm. And so that's always an area where you're looking to improve. If that's what you want, then there's a process of daily improvement that it's going to take until ultimately you have the team that's able to do that and kick the door down for some of the things that this program should be doing. Because
of overreaction in media, social media, after week 1, that's not the identity for the entire year. Like, there's that thought, a team that loses, that's the worst team. Like, the overreaction is incredible. Like, teams, you shouldn't be the same team in November that you are in August.
Well, and there's always, like, maybe a misunderstanding of how 1 week relates to the next, right? And so everyone wants to know, what is their team capable of? And so everyone wants to use week 1 as the gauge to determine whether their team is good enough to do everything that them as a fan hopes their team can do. And so you have this, like, back and forth bantering amongst all the fan bases of, like, can we do it? Oh, I saw this, and this was great, and this is a sign that we're going to be able to, right? Because everyone wants to just be able to say that we're going to win it all this year.
Right.
But the reality is you don't know.
Right.
Like, you don't have any idea. Like, what happened on that field Saturday night is we went out and played a football game, and so did a whole bunch of other teams. And
yes.
As coaches, every single coach that watched their team play, whether it was, the team who pulled off the big upset, or the team who had the big win, or the team who had the disappointing loss, you saw some really good things. Mm-hmm. You saw some things that weren't so good. And you have this vision of the next 11 games and how much better you're going to have to get in order to go be successful. And that will always be football. I was joking with somebody. I still remember 2020 when we went out and played Vanderbilt in the opener, and the conclusions drawn from that game where we should just pull the plug on the whole season.
Right.
3 months later, we were in the Orange Bowl and we finished 4th in the country, right? And there was nothing about what happened in that Vanderbilt game that gave you the indication that that's where that season was going. But there were a lot of good things that happened in the game.
Yes.
There were a lot of things we had to fix, and that team did a really good job of fixing things and continuing to do those other things really well, and they were successful, and that's football.
I always think about this as well. Like, I know it could be something very simple, but Jamarian Morrow knows what it's like to field a kickoff in Kyle Field on a Saturday night. You can try that until he actually does it in a game, right? And how do they react when the lights are bright? Did you like to see a lot of those first-timers or guys who had a little bit more, they moved into different roles? Did you like that they reacted in week one?
Yeah, and you saw some guys go out there and do some really, really good things, and that was great to see. You know, you saw Tyler Onyedem have a really good game on the defensive line, and that was his first opportunity. You saw Des Ricks go out and have a really, really good night playing corner and coverage, and that was really important for him and for us. You saw Jordan Lockhart go out there, you know, a kid who we haven't talked about, and have a solid night. And so, you know, you saw a lot of kids go out there and get opportunities, and they get their feet underneath them a little bit. You saw Rylan Kennedy have a sack, and just but at the end of the day, like, and this is where I'm just so different as a coach because you're in it, like, I know what's happening. You know, we're going to have to, you know, wipe the slate clean, start over on Sunday, build up this week, go out Saturday, play a really, really good football game against a team who's going to come in here and play their absolute best against us, try to come out with a win, and then watch the tape, and then come in Sunday and erase that. And try, it's just, that's football, and that's how I am. That's how I approach it. That's how our staff approaches it. That's how I want our team to approach it. Fans can't approach it that way, and I understand that. Fans shouldn't approach it. That's the way they're fanatical, right? That's what a fan is someone who's very fanatical about his team. And that's across the board. Everyone's the same. And so they want answers. You know, they need answers now. I have to know now. Is this all going to work out? Is this going to be did we see everything we needed to see in order for this team to be great? I don't know. We'll find out. We got a long season. We got a lot of work to do.
And another one in week number 2 against Utah State. When we come back to the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit, it's the Bridge, and we will hear from safety Marcus Ratcliffe. That's next. It's Aggie Football from Learfield. Aggie Football Hour and the Bridge is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And during the Bridge, it becomes the best thing I heard. This is from Aggie safety, Marcus Ratcliffe. This will now be your second year running into Kyle Field. How was it your first time when you ran onto there?
Man, the first experience was wild. I think the best comparison, I was telling my parents this, I think the best comparison is like a gladiator in an arena. Like, that's the only comparison that makes sense to me, because I looked up and I was like, wow, all these people here to watch this game. Like, I've never seen something like that before, or felt something like that before.
Ratcliffe, conversations. We sat down, podcast studio in the Sin building. He talks about his Mission 312. That's the initiative where it's $312 he's donating for every turnover the Aggies. That goes to Walk Among Heroes. It's an initiative very close to my heart. They and Wish for Our Heroes I've been involved in as well. But then they send veterans to Normandy, the D-Day veterans, and one of the veterans that they sent back this past June was Jack Hugnut, who was an Aggie, class of 57. He and Ray, and that's because of Mission 312. And you'll hear more of Marcus this Saturday during our pregame show. That's the Bridge. Aggies score a taste touchdown at your next tailgate with Hellman's Real Mayonnaise, the official mayonnaise of Texas A&M Athletics. Do dip with Hellman's and do no wrong. More of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko is presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return, it's Aggie Football from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. Here we go, Coach. They're checking in. You know, we do the Texas cities: Atlanta, Saginaw, Lucas, Corinth, Melissa, Flatonia. Savannah, Georgia has checked in. Margaret Elko from Langhorne, Pennsylvania has checked in.
Yeah, a lot of family in Langhorne, Pennsylvania.
Which is not far from the Oxford Valley Mall.
It is not. It is not.
I worked in that mall. My parents had a store in that mall.
Okay, so that's part of the crew where we used to go every year for Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
A ton of support over in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Gotcha.
For the Elko family. And my cousin, Margaret's husband, was the head football coach at Pennsbury High School.
Was he really?
Yeah,
the
for
Falcons.
a little while, yeah.
Yeah, my older brothers and sisters went there. I went to Council Rock High School.
So I had a cousin who played baseball at Council Rock.
Did you really?
Yep.
Under Pete Luceni.
Yep.
Pete Luceni, who said, hit the ball on the ground because fly balls do not take bad hops. That's all I learned from him.
There you go. That's a good lesson.
Angela City in the Philippines, Tokyo, Japan, and we have saved the absolute best for last. Hey, Mike, looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Love you, Mom. Carol's checked in.
Yeah, always.
It's the best part.
So I talked to her on the way over here, so I thought maybe she would just get some rest tonight, but I guess she's still listening to the radio show.
No, not a chance. I apologize for waiting until 8:39 to talk about your defense. What adjustments did you make on that defense and shut down that UTSA running game?
I thought we just kind of got a little bit better feel for how they were trying to attack us. I think, you go in and you kind of vision it going out one way, and they had thrown the ball quite a bit, and the passing game and the quarterback. And so I think maybe we were a little bit more geared in one direction. And I think we just kind of settled things down a little bit and got a little bit better feel for how they were trying to attack us. And, I think we thought we kind of had it as we went into the second half. Unfortunately, we had the big bust on the first play of the second half, but I felt like coming out of the locker room, we had a good plan for what we wanted to do, and it played out that way.
You said something Monday that every game's going to have 4 or 5 plays. I thought that was fascinating that you identified. They can't be 75 yards, though, right?
No.
They've got to be. I remember something that Tyler Santucci said to Edgerrin Cooper when Edge was really, really young. He said, you can't freelance out there. He said, if you freelance and we're playing New Mexico, that's a 12-yard gain. When you do that in the SEC,
right,
that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
And the development of Edgerrin Cooper from where he started, and that, painfully athletic, right?
Yeah.
And then between the ears, what he became, and now he's a linebacker with the Green Bay Packers. But you say that along the lines, can you keep those 4 mistakes to a minimum?
Yeah.
And that helps, you were saying that helps define a defense, does it not?
I think so. And you talk about it on both sides of it. So, when you lose and you give up 24 points, which is obviously more than we wanted to or more than we really should have, it comes down to these 4 or 5 plays where we didn't do them the way they should have been done, right? And that changes everything, and you can't take them back because that at the end of the day is the result. Mm-hmm. And so, but the process that you go into is you try to examine what happened and how you can fix it. But then the flip side of it is the other way. You go out and you play a really, really good game last year in the Swamp, right?
Yeah.
But there's still 4 or 5 plays. And there's still 4 or 5 plays that had they hit them, had the quarterback not overthrown it, had the ball not bounced off, had we not got a sack, these are the 4 or 5 plays that would have beat us, and we have to fix them, right? And so I always tell the guys, whether you win, whether you lose, whether you play great, whether you play poorly, at the end of the day, it just always seems that there's 4 or 5 plays in the game of football that create the result and the outcome. And so you have to be process driven to continue to strive to not have those plays go the other way. And that's an emphasis point that we've always had.
How much does it help to have Tyreek back at nickel, and how much of the development of Des Ricks? Because teams really don't want to throw to Will Lee's side. I totally get it. But has that helped the development of Des Ricks?
Yeah, I think the combination of both of those things. I think getting Tyreek back out to the field with Dez allows us, I think, to have 3 really, really talented cover guys. And then Julio Humphrey is a kid who continues to develop and get better. Javon Thomas is still a kid who can go out there and be effective for us. It was great to see Bravion Rogers go out there. His development, he's a kid who has been a really impactful player on special teams and continues to get more and more comfortable and ready to go on defense. And we'll get Jordan Shaw back here at some point soon, and that's another name. And so I just think the versatility of that group gives us a little bit more flexibility to go out and do some of the things the way we want to do them.
I know I talked about adjusting, the defense adjusting over the course. Did you like the adjustments? Because you said week one is so big on adjustments. There's so much what if. You think this is going to happen. What if it doesn't? Did you like the way the team adjusted offensively and defensively?
Yeah, I think so. I think defensively, we started well the first 2 drives, and then got into a little bit of a rut where we weren't doing things the way we were capable of, and then came out and fixed it and had a really good, strong 6 drives in a row to put the game away. And then offensively, it was kind of the other way. We didn't start great the first couple times we went out there, and then hit the punt return, and then I thought got into a pretty good rhythm on offense for a while, and then maybe kind of slowed down a little bit through the middle of the third, end of the fourth, or beginning of the fourth quarter. And that's just some of the inconsistency of us functioning the way we're capable of. But again, you're talking about nuances within the scheme and the plays, not I was proud of the fact we didn't have pre-snap issues, we didn't have alignment issues, we didn't have timing issues. Like, we operated and functioned at a really, really high level. There's some details that we let slip a little bit that we got to fix.
Much more of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. When we return to Rudy's, this is Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. We continue. Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Can we talk about the 4th and 1 call and the pass to Theo? That was a thing of beauty. That was a great call, Mike, wasn't it?
Because it worked, which is what I said the entire offseason, which is every 4th and 1 call that you make that works is a great call. And every one that you make that doesn't, not so much. And so, no, it was well designed. Marcel obviously executed it really well, and it was great to get him another touchdown pass.
So you put Ashton in motion. You've got Le'Veon in the backfield. Marcel is a weapon, and you have a guy who can get, there's so many weapons on a play like that. And now Utah State, they're watching that going, that's a creative call. That's where their adjustment will come from, and what they're going to have to prepare for, one of many things leading into Saturday, correct?
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think, again, some of that is being able to cater an offense around the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And so you go into this year and you have Marcel back there, and that he has a capability with his legs to make some things happen, and regardless of what they do, he has an ability to turn that into a good play, and so that becomes a little bit more of how you can attack some situations. You can allow him to get into run pass opportunities, and those things are really good. And so I think it's just kind of part of the chess game that you play. But again, when you go in and you know what you have at quarterback and you can build some things around him, I think that helps.
Made some great throws, didn't he?
He did. He made some good throws over the middle. I thought that was really good to see. I thought the dig he threw to Casey Concepcion was a really, really good throw. The one he threw to Nate Borkacher, the tight end, in the really tight window, and those are things that obviously we believed he's capable of and thought we would see from him. And it was really good to see him go out there and really comfortable and go out and play the first game the way he did.
Tight ends deep. Amari makes a catch. You got Micah Riley in there later. Obviously Theo, as you talked about. And I was thrilled for E.J. Smith to get in the end zone after all that he went through last year also. And Ruben's run. It's nice to see Ruben back and healthy for sure.
For sure. And don't think that the EJ touchdown wasn't a little bit of a subtle reward on our end for what we had seen happen on the punt return, and so
gotcha.
When you have a choice and you have a chance to kind of reward a kid for that, you get the opportunity to do it, and that's another opportunity, another situation where I think everybody in that stable is happy for the guy that scores, right? Obviously there's a part of them that wants to be the guy that scores, but anybody who in that group gets a chance to have success, you see the joy and the excitement on the sideline. It's really cool to see.
Final segment next. We're going to talk Utah State, the opponent on Saturday at Kyle Field. When we return, Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Our final segment of the Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credits, Utah State on 11:45. 10:30 for our Memorial Hermann pregame show. You'll hear from Marcus Ratcliffe. You will hear from Armaje Reed-Adams during our pregame. You'll hear Mike Elko as we talk just before the game. And Bronco Mendenhall has that team. Week 1 win over UTEP. And I kept thinking about the adjustments that we were talking about. You get 1 week of tape, but he's got an awful lot of transfers on that team. Do you once again go back with your staff and kind of find out what the quarterback was like at Utah, what the running back was like at BYU, things like that? Like, is it another week of looking at a whole lot of tape to try to get tendencies?
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's and then with this one too, you don't really have a great pulse on schematically, because they've only had one game together at Utah State. And so, you're watching a lot of different offenses. We're watching a William and Mary offensive run game because that's where the O-line coach came from and seems to be kind of the genesis of the run game that they ran last week, and passing game from San Jose State because that's where the coordinator was 2 years ago. And so, you're watching those cut-ups. Then you got the running back hit tape from BYU and the running back hit tape from New Mexico and the quarterback hit tape. It's a wild world nowadays in openers. But you do what you got to do, and you get a good feel for what you think it's going to be. And then again, very similar to the opener, you have to be ready to adjust. You have to, because you don't know. And then part of what we always deal with in these kinds of games is they're going to come in and they're going to take their shot, and you don't really have a great way of predicting what that will look like either. And so, to whatever extent they feel like they can do creative, unique things to try to generate opportunities for themselves, I'm sure they'll do it, and we'll see it. And so, we got to be ready. We got to be ready to come right out of the locker room. It's an early kick, and we got to be ready to go.
I thought it was, Bronco Mendenhall said something interesting on Monday, talking about dual threat quarterbacks, and he's got one, but he was talking about Marcel. He said it takes one more guy on defense. Yeah. To try to I hadn't heard it that way. I thought it was fascinating, but that's what dual threat quarterbacks do, don't they?
No, for sure. And I think it's part of why we have the conversations we have about Marcel, because you have to evaluate Marcel's entire ability to be successful and move the offense, and are there times where he doesn't throw it exactly like, the Tom Brady of the world, like maybe. Right. But Tom Brady could never run the ball like Marcel could, and so it's a total package that you're trying to put together when you're evaluating Marcel as a quarterback, and so that's part of it, right? And the weapon that he is and the ability to get creative, like every yard counts, like however you get him, and so if he drops back to pass and takes off and runs for 30, that's still plus 30 for the Aggies. Yes. That's not a bad play because he didn't throw the ball to somebody. That's a really good play for us, and there's things like that happen in the game. Again, that as coaches, I think we identify and pay a lot of attention to.
And you see I guess maturity might be the word, but he can trust that pocket, right? He can trust that line. They gave him time to throw, didn't they?
Yeah, for sure. And you would expect that in the opener. And obviously, hopefully, again this week we're able to do that very similar. And but I think the more confident he gets back there, and we talk about this a lot, the more quiet his feet are, the more success he has. And so, because I think that's when you look at the mechanics of the deep ball that he missed. It was he's open and rush, and the feet, the arm got ahead of the feet again, and when the arm get ahead of the feet, that's when you get inaccurate. And so again, the more he does it, the more opportunities he has, the better he'll get with it.
Beat the hell out of Utah State.
That's
on
the plan.
Saturday.
That's the plan. We'll be back here next week.
We'll be back here next week.
Yep.
Enjoy that.
Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Great crowd. We'll see y'all Saturday.
Aggie Football Hour with Mike Elko. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit, and as Mike mentioned, we will be with you all along the network. We start at 10:30, the Memorial Hermann pregame show. The kick at 11:45, the Aggies. And the Aggies of Utah State. We thank you so much for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.
You've been listening to the Aggie Football Hour, brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Texas A&M Sports Network.